Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Sunday morning.
Thank you.
Um, Greetings to anybody I can see on Zoom, and greetings to anybody I cannot see on Facebook or YouTube. Happy to be here with you this morning. For the last 4 weeks, we've been talking about the four foundations of mindfulness. And today we're going to talk about a way to apply that. There's lots of different ways to apply that. So I'm going to start by asking a question that we don't need an answer to, just to be with the question. How are you right now? You can just take that question as like an opening to your experience, an opening to be aware of how you are. And we're going to be looking at that. One of the things about meditation that I like is it's kind of mysterious. We never really quite know what's going to come up. And I came upon an interesting quote from James Baldwin, who I really like. He said, "I am what time, circumstances, history have made me, but I'm also much more." We are generally much more than we usually think we are. And it's easy to lose sight of that when we're feeling stressed or overwhelmed or grief stricken or depressed. We tend to think that this is somehow integrated into our beingness. It's easy to get preoccupied with the flotsam and jetsam of day-to-day life and get preoccupied with circumstances and challenges and issues and problems in our lives. And it's easy to forget that we can step back from our overwhelmed state of being and be clearly and calmly aware of what is challenging us and how we are, and step back and know that we are more than our circumstances. So I'm talking about mindfulness as a way to maintain our sense of agency, a feeling of control over our actions and consequences, and the ability to make good choices, rather than be swept away and go into, this is me, this is my life, this is important, this is all there is. But there may be a way to know there is more to us and more to our lives than our present circumstances and whatever may be challenging us at the moment. It's important in those moments to be aware, to recognize what's happening, and make space for our experience rather than reject our experience because it's unpleasant. The default position that most of us have learned when we're having difficult feelings or feeling overwhelmed is make it stop, make it stop, make it stop. So we end up doing things that actually exacerbate it. And what I'm suggesting here is a way to investigate and look and go into it and see who and where we are in those moments. And we can start to get a little bit of clarity and calm, even in the midst of our most challenging moments, and let go of that sense of entanglement. So let's begin by assuming a meditation posture. Our meditation posture helps to facilitate us being awake and aware with whatever is going on. And knowing that we are present in the moment. And gently closing your eyes. And feeling your presence and vitality in your body in this moment. It's another place where we can take some sense of agency and step back from our business as usual moments. And one way to do that is to consciously just take a few long, slow, deep breaths. And there's a way of reminding ourselves that we can be conscious in our own agency and aware of our experience. And part of that is just to relax. So relaxing your body as you exhale. Choosing not to be just business as usual, but choosing to be intentionally relaxing. And if you can't do that, if that's a challenging thing for you to do, that's okay. Just choosing to be aware of the state you're in right now. Letting your breathing return to normal. And continuing to relax and soften your body on the exhale. And with relaxed, soft agency, consciously, intentionally, gently become aware of the body breathing. And let your focus rest there. your mind will wander off in thought. It's supposed to do that, it does that. Just with some conscious, gentle agency, notice. Without getting wrapped up in the discursive narrative or the topic of whatever the thought stream is doing, just notice thinking as a process that your mind went to. And noticing whatever arises, and thoughts are just something else that arise. And gently sliding your attention and focus to begin again to focus on the breathing. And step back and notice how your meditation is right now, how you're meditating. Lost in thought, wanting to be different than it is, maybe, or maybe just complacent, engaged, pleasant. Just an open, relaxed observation of noticing how you are in your meditation in the moment. And then simply relaxed, judgmentally, non-judgmentally, non-judgmentally returning to the breath. If you're caught up in thoughts, you can calmly, clearly, gently begin again with the breathing, or you can appreciate the relaxed, gentle being aware, and just breathing in and out. And just to pause, step back, and notice how you are in the effort to meditate. Just how are you? Without trying to answer, just noticing. And gently sliding your attention back to your breathing. And as we come to the end of this meditation, I invite you to pause, step back, check in with yourself. How are you? Can you consider that question as a way of being relaxed and open and curious? How you are with the question is more important than the answer you get. Asking how you are with openness, curiosity, kindness, willingness to accompany yourself, even with what's difficult. Now I invite you to turn your gaze out to the world with the same question, not needing an answer, just as a way to observe, opening to the possibilities you might not see if you answered quickly. A way to be available to more and to accompany this world. Can you accompany others with this generosity of kindness, making room and space for the joys and sufferings to be held with caring attention? May the benefits of this practice be available to all, benefit all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be well. May all beings be safe. May all beings be at ease and at peace. Thank you for your practice. I'd like to start by offering a quote from one of my favorite writers, philosophers, and spiritualists, Rainier Maria Rilke, from his collection of letters to a young poet. He wrote, "Be patient towards all that is unsolved in your heart and try to love the questions themselves, like locked rooms, like books that are now written in a very foreign tongue. Do not seek the answers which cannot be given you because you would not be able to live them. And the point is to live everything, live the questions now. Perhaps you will then gradually, without noticing it, live along some distant day into the answer." So, how are you? Just as an opening to your experience of the moment. And what I'm talking about today is how we are in difficult moments and ways to be with that. So not to get so swept away. Because life is challenging at times. Sources of sadness and grief or overwhelm. And it's easy to get caught up in the narrating, discursive thinking mind because, as I've said over and over, our experience is in two parts. Here's what happens. Here's what we tell ourselves about what happens. These are separate, but we usually don't notice that. So, I've been talking the last few weeks about the four foundations of mindfulness, and those are mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings, mindfulness of thoughts, and mindfulness of constructions of the mind. And you can use that as a check in, as a way to look at the question, how are you? You're having a difficult experience. Maybe there's grief, maybe there's sadness, maybe you're overwhelmed. You can always step back into the four foundations and first start with what is my experience of this physically? Had some technical issues this morning again. It's the way it goes, you know. So I started setting this thing up earlier than I usually do because there's issues with the camera and the feed and all that. Then I go have breakfast. And I noticed while I was making breakfast, it was intense, wound up because it took a little longer this morning. Where is that in my body? I literally noticed I was like pulling in, right? Like guarding myself. That's where I go. I can feel it in my arms and my shoulders. It's like, eh. So check in, mindful of the body. You're feeling sad or tense or angry. All feelings are somatic. They start in the body, and then we put a label on them, and now it's an emotion. If I'm feeling angry, it's usually like in my shoulders, sometimes a little in my belly, but my shoulders are like trying to fold my body in half, like protecting myself. If I'm sad, there's usually something right here and in the pit of my belly. If I'm feeling like joyous and open, I can actually feel like open. My chest is like open. So if we're feeling swamped by whatever it is, start by checking in the body. As soon as you come into your body, the discursive thought kind of fades a little bit because the discursive thought stream is always somewhere other than the present moment most of the time. And it's usually when we're in difficult feelings, going to some version of this is bad, make it stop, make it stop, make it stop, which makes it continue because it adds another layer of I'm not okay onto whatever it is that's going on. We come into the body, be aware of the body. The body is always in the present moment. It is a physical object, unlike the mind. It is a physical object. It cannot exit the present moment. So just first check in with the body. This is the mindfulness check-in. Be aware what's happening. Be aware of whether maybe your breathing is accelerated, where there are areas of tension here and there. Just noticing. And then notice the feeling tone. Not necessarily the feelings itself, anger, sadness, da, 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 da. We can label that in our thinking, discursive thought. But just taking a moment to step back and notice pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. Oh, this feels hard to be with. I'm feeling it here in my belly, in my throat, and it feels difficult. Just noticing that, what that is like, because feelings only have three qualities: pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. What am I experiencing as a tone right now? So you're present in your body and you're present in whatever your feeling tone is. And then we can go to thinking. What am I thinking? I've talked about Herbert. Those of you who are new may not know about Herbert. Um, I named that part of my mind that is constantly rambling. I named him Herbert because it's a Star Trek reference. Look it up. I'm a Trekkie from way back. I'm a friendly Trekkie, not one of those hostile Trekkies who gets mad at you if you don't know who Dr. McCoy's nickname. Um, because my thought stream, that discursive narrative, is often disconnected from my experience of the moment. And if I'm experiencing difficult feelings like sadness or anger or frustration, it often defaults to a place that doesn't really serve me, right? It tells me I'm doing it wrong. It tells me this has to be different. It tells me, oh, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible. Some version of, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Which is absolutely not helpful. Right? So we've paused and we've stepped back and, okay, my body's a little tense. Maybe I can relax it there. Maybe I can't. That's okay. I'm just aware of it. My feelings are a little difficult. It's uncomfortable right now. And my mind is rambling off into something other than something useful, but it's doing what it does. And the reason why this part is especially important, it's easy to get caught up in the narrative and believe that it is actually, that our experience is actually as being described. And it's not necessarily. I mean, I came upon the name Herbert. I've told this story before. I was at a deserted beach in the middle of nowhere in North Carolina. The Florida beaches are wonderful, but they have nothing on the beaches of the Carolinas. It's so peaceful. It's so placid. There's somebody walking his dog like 3/4 miles away. And I'm hearing this angry thing in my head about something that's not happening in the moment. And it's just such a profound experience of the rambling mind being different from the present experience. That's why I named it Herbert. So sometimes I check in and say, oh, Herbert's angry today. Herbert is sad today. But I'm standing here watching the sunset on the Gulf of Mexico, 15 minutes from my house, but Herbert is like in a different space. So just pausing, stepping back, being aware of our body, being aware of our feeling tone, being aware of our thinking. And the fourth foundation of mindfulness is a little more subtle, sometimes more difficult to notice. And Buddha called it constructions of the mind. And these are generally preconditioned attitudes that we bring into whatever situation we're in. They're not reflective of a situation. I mean, they are, but in a clouded sort of sense. It's like if the mind is a giant filing cabinet stretching back way far behind us, like that's seen in the Matrix. And we have something going on in front of us, and we reach back into the giant filing cabinet for some other set of experiences that may look sort of similar, or some attitudes that we've usually used in situations like this. And we put that in front of us, and that's the filter through which we're seeing our present moment experience. I should write that down. That's the best description I think I've come up with of that so far. So the fourth foundation of mindfulness, as it relates to the mindfulness check-in, is to be aware that we are doing that. Somebody looks at you the wrong way, you're having a difficult moment, someone looks at you the wrong way, and the mind goes through, God, that person doesn't like me. Because I have a default setting that says that, because my father was very rejecting. Right? The echoes of things, those elements of the mind that are the echoes of things from before, but they're not now, that are really subtle because they're just attitudes and lenses through which we habitually look at the world, but they're separate from our regular experience. So when we step back and we pause and do a mindfulness type check-in, what is happening in my body? What is the nature of the feelings I'm experiencing? Not the feelings themselves. We already know what that is. Okay. What is the nature? This feels difficult. This feels hard to be with, but I'm still being with it. No matter how difficult it's gotten, the top of your head is not open and you have not exited your body in the scene. What is Herbert, or whatever you want to call it, the narrative discursive, saying about this? And is it reflective of what's actually going on? Because sometimes the thinking mind, that part of the mind, can actually point you towards solutions. Like when I finally read, when Herbert said, this isn't really what's going on. You're just on the beach. Right? Oh, right. Yeah, that. Pleasant moment. And recognizing the attitudes that I bring to this. Is this I'm so put upon, which may be a default position. My life is a train wreck, and this is just another way of demonstrating that. Or you can really go into like Albert Camus type existential fatalism. Go, nothing matters, doesn't matter. Nothing matters, doesn't matter. Whatever attitude, preconceived, conditioned, that you bring to it, just being aware of that. And it takes less time to do it than it does to describe it. And then we can have some sort of agency to make decisions based on what is actually happening, how to navigate it, rather than just be swept away into whatever it is and be paralyzed and making decisions that don't support our well-being or the welfare of people around us. This is especially important, at least to me, with anger. Anger has all kinds of taboos around it, which is unfortunate. I keep saying this, anger has a bad reputation because people equate being angry with doing angry things. But the art of anger, it is an art. I can be so angry, I can bop somebody in the head, which I used to do when I was 15. Hopefully I outgrew that. I can be so angry, I can bop somebody in the head, but I don't bop them in the head. But I can step back for a moment of being angry and just notice my experience of that. And that centers me, grounds me. And now I have some agency. I can make better decisions. My refrigerator broke down 6 months after I bought it. There's at least one person in the room today who knows this story. My refrigerator broke down 6 months after we moved into the house and bought a refrigerator. Call the dealer. They said, call Whirlpool. Call Whirlpool. It'll take 2 weeks to get somebody out there. Well, what am I supposed to do with all this stuff? Right? Including some meds that have to be refrigerated. I was really angry about that. And my anger gave me the energy to move rather than just like sit down on the couch and sulk. My mindful attention to the anger helped me stay in a space to be calm, cool, and professional when I reached out to the CEO of this corporation. I don't escalate up the chain. I start at the top and come down. It works every time. Life is life. There are going to be difficult times. There are going to be joyous times. Um, and the skillful means is to not lose our sense of agency at any point in that spectrum. And you can always pause and step back and say, what am I experiencing in my body? What does this feel like emotionally? Not what is the feeling, what does this feel like? It feels like this is a difficult feeling. What is the tone? And then what is the thought stream telling me? Here's another example. There was noise in the bathroom behind me. It was the cat doing the thing in the litter box. But a couple of years ago, there's a little feeder line that goes from the wall to the toilet, and it broke off when I was out of the house one day and ran like an open faucet for several hours. Right? And came home, and that whole back end of the house, it's 11 o'clock at night, and it was flooded. And, you know, call service master, they come out, long story short, blah, blah, blah. But when I heard that just now, as we were sitting, there's something like, oh, I saw someone in the bathroom. Herbert went to that scene, right? Even though that's not what was happening. The cat was using the litter box. So it's important to notice when our discursive experience and our emotional experience is not necessarily connected to what is happening right now in the moment. And the first way to do that is to notice what's happening in the body and how that relates to the tone of the feelings and the discursive ramblings for narration of the mind, and what pre-programmed attitudes I bring to this. And from there, we can come back and focus on the present moment because we know what we are, we know where we are, we know who we are, we know what's happening to us, and we know what's happening in front of us. And have some agency to make decisions. If we're feeling overwhelmed, go for a walk. If it's not July in Sacramento and it's 107 degrees. Or torrentially, that torrential rain you get in Florida for 25 minutes every day in July. Not a great time to go for a walk. Take a shower. Meditate for 5 minutes. Rewatch your favorite old television show. I love Night Court reruns. They're much better than the current thing that's going on now. Nobody's writing like that in television right now. Call a friend. Go to a 12-step meeting. The point is, whatever it is, if we can use this mindfulness check-in as a tool, as a practice, to come back to the center and make decisions in our own sense of agency rather than being swept away. Because there's nothing to be gained by me calling up the head of the place, Famous Tate, it's an appliance chain around here, calling up the CEO of Famous Tate and yelling at him. Because he would just be receiving some crazy person on the phone. But there is something to be gained from what is my experience of this in my body and emotionally and my thoughts and my preconceived attitudes. And then from there, make decisions to call the guy up, be professional. So I invite you to try this as an exercise. I invite you to try this as an exercise first when you're not feeling stressed out, right? Pause a couple of times today and just notice, how am I? Just to check in with your body and your emotional experience, your emotional state, not necessarily the label, it's just the state. Notice what the radio station of the mind is doing in the moment and whatever attitude you may be bringing to it. We practice these things when we're not stressed out. It's easier to go there when we are. So I'd like to welcome everybody who made it on time. Last week, somebody logged in an hour after, and this week, someone logged in an hour before. So those of you who see the Facebook invitation, I'm pretty sure it's also in the email. There is a link to see what time this is in your time zone. So, thank you for your kind attention. Does anybody have any questions or comments? And welcome, Mary. It's nice to see you.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Hope to see you again. Hi, Ron.
I hope so. Thank you. Everyone have a good week.
Thank you for the practice.
I put the usual information in the chat if it's of interest to you, and I will
Thank you, Ken.
see
Take
y'all
care.
next time.